Even secular art can be the occasion of a sacred experience. So I say to all the listeners out there, what are your favorite movies? What are your favorite songs? What are your favorite bands or musicians? There's a reason for that. And yes, when it comes to secular art, we have to be discerning. We have to say, okay, there's the weeds and there's the wheat. But we don't have to throw things out the window just because they have a few weeds in them. We have to learn how to also tease the wheat out. And there's a reason we have these favorite movies, this favorite music. They speak to our hearts for a reason. And we need to give ourselves permission to take comfort in the art that ministers to our heart.
Yeah, that's a great segue as you're talking about even secular art. I had sent you that quote by Pope Pius XI on cinema, where he said, "There does not exist today a means of influencing the masses more potent than the cinema. It teaches the majority of men more effectively than abstract reasoning." And he goes on to say, "The power of the motion picture consists in this, that it speaks by means of vivid and concrete imagery, which the mind takes in with enjoyment and without fatigue. In place of the effort which reading or listening demands, there is the continued pleasure of a succession of concrete and, so to speak, living pictures." You often use regular secular movies to help teach this theology. And what I like to say is then it makes them really hungry to go deeper into actually going and picking up stuff and learning about theology of the body by giving them a taste of it, by helping them see things maybe they've never seen before. You've used The Truman Show as a great way. I Am Legend, and there's so many more. I'd like to talk briefly about Warm Bodies, if you will, in terms of this love. Warm Bodies, of course, is a zombie movie. Now, I know why, but I'd like to hear from you. Why do you think zombies are so prolific in our culture right now, and why was Warm Bodies a great analogy of that we've been designed and created for union and communion?
Yeah, my son Thomas, who's 13 years old, about 3 months ago, he says, "Hey, Dad, you got to see this trailer for this new movie coming out called Warm Bodies." He says it's all about the culture of life and the culture of death and how we build a culture of life out of the culture of death. And I'm like, really? Let me see the trailer. And it is. This is a very powerful movie. I just saw it about 2 weeks ago when it came out. And Warm Bodies, this whole zombie genre, is really an allegory for the culture of death.
Mm-hmm.
We are walking dead people in the culture of death. And the opening line of this movie, this main zombie character, it's kind of a comedy, too. It's lighthearted. It's a lighthearted look at it. It's not like a horror movie. It's a lighthearted look at the zombie genre. And the zombie genre, again, is this idea that we're all dead and we need to come back to life. And this zombie says, "I'm looking for connection. Why can't I connect with people?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, because I'm dead." Well, that's exactly what's going on in our world today. When we live in a loveless world, we live in a culture of death. The culture of death comes about when love becomes lust. See, love is meant to lead to life, but lust, love's counterfeit, leads to death. And how do the zombies in Warm Bodies come back to life? By discovering love, by discovering the true meaning of the sexual difference and the call to this holy union. It's all theology of the body in a popular movie. Whoever wrote this movie is thinking long and hard about what's going on in the world and is looking for the way out. And it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, two of my favorite parts of the scene were the first one when he says the same thing, "Why can't I connect?" He talks about what it would be like to be alive and to truly connect. It must be wonderful. And then it pans around and adds a different color and theme to show what the world looked like pre-apocalypse. And everybody's looking down at their cell phones and their electrical devices, and nobody's interacting. And that's kind of that's the irony, is that he's saying, gosh, to be back alive before this all happened to us, and then they quick show you what it looked like, and no one was connecting. So it's kind of saying, again, connection is so important. And the second thing I really loved, well, there's two other things. One, that eating the brains, really the thing he looked forward to was human experiences, where he felt truly alive through human experiences of joy, of life. And the third thing was, not to be too much of a spoiler, is the point when he jumped to save them, and he wrapped himself around her, giving himself as a sacrifice, and they came up through the water really reborn. And he was transformed by love, but only after he gave himself as a gift of sacrifice.
Absolutely. There's baptismal symbolism in there.
Yeah.
It's all kinds of rich stuff. And here's what I often say. Every good story, you will find the gospel story in it. Because the gospel story is imprinted in the whole universe. And theology of the body is imprinted in our very existence. I mean, our bodies proclaim the gospel itself. And the very title of this movie, Warm Bodies, it's a statement. There's something cold going on in the world today.
Yeah.
Very cold. And the coldness of love is lust. A cold love is a lustful love or a dead love. And the idea of warm bodies means reconnecting with the truth of love. I mean, look at our bodies. I said earlier that love leads to life. Our bodies tell this story. A man's body and a woman's body is called to a holy communion that brings life to the world. When we cut that off, when we nix our fertility, when we see life as something to avoid, and we see sex as something merely as a means to experience pleasure, then other human beings become objects of our lust. And we're no longer looking to bring life to the world, we're just looking to please ourselves. And this brings death to the world. Here's a little soundbite. We live in a soundbite world today.
Yeah.
And I'm often looking for some way to condense all this teaching.
Yeah.
Here it is. Ears are meant to hear, eyes are meant to see, genitals are meant to generate. And when we fail to respect this truth as a culture, we degenerate. That's what's going on in the world today. That's why we have a culture of death, because we no longer understand the story that our bodies tell. And we're taking our hunger not to the banquet, but we're taking our hunger to the fast food. And that's why my book, Fill These Hearts, is I think an important read, because it reorients our desires away from the fast food and in the direction of the banquet. It doesn't condemn, it redirects. And this is why Christ is so compassionate with sinners, especially sexual sinners. Think of the woman caught in adultery. Think of the woman at the well. These women were hungry. They're thirsty for real love. And Jesus says, I am what you're looking for. I'm not here to condemn you. I'm here to redirect your desire according to God's design so you can reach your destiny.
Oh, what a beautiful note to end on. Christopher, I think what I love about what you do most is your authentic, genuine heart that you have. You have knowledge and intellect, and we've got lots of theologians, but of course the Pharisees were theologians as well. And you're the man that says, are you kidding me? We're not going to heal someone because it's the wrong day of the week. And we all need someone to bring this truth with a merciful heart. And you find the language to deliver it, because our woundedness and our brokenness and the sinfulness of where we're living to satisfy these hungers in the wrong way prevent us sometimes from hearing truth. And you have gone over and beyond to find a way to communicate love to people that don't know what love is anymore, through music and media and art and whatever it takes. I see you continuing to find new ways in which to communicate this, because you have an authentic love to serve and to give your own yes. And so I thank you for that.
Christina, you know what? I am a deeply, deeply wounded man, and I have encountered a love. I have encountered an infinite love. I know that I'm loved in my brokenness. I know that I'm loved in my wounded humanity. And the more you taste God's mercy, the more you want to share it with others, and you feel compelled to share it with others. Woe to me if I do not share the mercy I've received. And if we're to do that, if that's the commission, if we're to go into the main streets and invite everyone to their wedding feast, then we have to find a language that people in the main streets can understand and relate to. And this is where movies and music and understanding what's going on in the culture. We don't have to be afraid of the culture. We have to be discerning, but we don't have to be afraid. And we must, just as Paul did, he used the language of the culture he's trying to reach to preach the gospel. We have to do that too.
Yes. especially today in today's world. And someone who knows the ache, I think that's why you were chosen, Christopher, is you have to know that ache to be able to speak to the ache in others. And so that helps make people the exact person. So all you out there that feel like I have nothing to give because I'm so broken, I'd say that probably makes you the most qualified to go speak to the broken. So again, if you want to check out Christopher's book or book him to bring in that beautiful tour, I've heard some of that music, Mike Mangione and the Union, hoping to get him on my show, check out ChristopherWest.com, ChristopherWest.com. You can even check out that, I'm sure there's a link to the Theology of the Body Institute to maybe take your very first Head, Heart, and Immersion course to start really getting into it. It's more than just teaching, it's an experience going to the Institute. So it really is experiencing it in a really great way. So thank you, Christopher, for all that you're doing for the church.
You're welcome, Christine, and thank you for all you're doing too.
Okay, God bless.